Before the Flood, The Fall of Atlantis, by Matson. Chapter 8, The Final Culling of Ring 7. The second mandated week of healing in the advancing warriors' barracks of Ring 7 passed in a haze of pharmacia poultices, fractured prayers, and the unrelenting oppressive weight of Atlantis pressing down upon them. The chamber's thick stone walls, reinforced by Gorgothan's own geomancy, hummed with a low, insidious resonance that made the air feel oily and heavy, as though the very stones sought to sap the will of those inside. Torchlight flickered uncertainly from iron sconces, casting long, writhing shadows that danced across the rough-hewn floors and seemed to whisper with half-formed illusions born from the island's pervasive corruption. The faint scent of dried blood, incense, and Lysandros's herbal mixtures clung to everything, a constant reminder of the violence that had come before and the greater trials yet to come. Lysandros moved among his companions with quiet determination, though his lean scholarly frame showed clear signs of strain. His pale hands, usually steady from years in libraries, trembled noticeably now as he ground rare minerals and mixed salves from his steadily depleting satchel. The sharp, bitter aromas of willow bark, chamomile, myrrh, spikenard, and crushed eastern resins filled the confined space. "Hold still, Stelios," he said softly, while pressing a thick poultice against the big warrior's cracked ribs. "The living bronze armor saves your life in the arena, but it accelerates the petrification process. I have studied the ancient scrolls. The Order of Goof warned us long ago. The body fails exactly as the covenants foretold. Mind fractures first, in Moak, body in Goof, spirit in Ruach. We are seeing it unfold in real time." Stelios lay on a reinforced cot that creaked under his increasing weight. The massive, barrel-chested tank's ritual scars pulsed with faint inner light beneath the bronze-hardened skin of his altering invocations. Every subtle shift of his frame produced an audible grinding sound, like stones shifting deep within the earth. "I will carry this weight and endure 1,000 more blows if it serves the Creator's vision," the loyal warrior growled, his voice steady with protective resolve. "My bones may grow heavier and more brittle with every use, but my heart remains steadfast. I will tank whatever comes so that Leon can fulfill the divine mandate. The olive groves of Tanaju and the dream we all share demand nothing less." Leon sat a short distance away, back pressed against the cool stone wall, the olive branch token clutched tightly in his calloused fist. The small piece of wood still carried the faint, living warmth of the groves back home in Caliste. It served as his only pure anchor amid the mounting corruption. His forearms and shoulders bore the luminous blue scars of Kion's power, bright tributaries that now reached well past his elbows and onto his shoulders like radiant rivers of forbidden fire. They ached with phantom heat even in moments of rest, a constant reminder of both the strength granted and the slow spiritual cost being exacted. The power had carried them through 2 brutal rounds, yet each invocation left Leon feeling heavier in spirit, more susceptible to the whispers that rose unbidden from the hidden dimensions. Kion's voice rumbled deep within his mind during quiet moments. "You grow mightier with every victory, pup. Why chain yourself to their frailties and mounting costs? The throne of Ring 7 could be yours alone in unburdened glory. Embrace me fully and leave the weak behind." Leon squeezed the olive branch token until the wood bit into his palm, drawing a thin line of blood. Its pure warmth pushed back against the temptation, grounding him once more in the vivid dream from the Creator. The 10 concentric rings cracking apart, the sea rising in cataclysmic judgment, the clear mandate to defeat Poseidon and cast the entire sinful city into the depths of the Mediterranean. Grief for their fallen brothers Piron and Boreas lingered like smoke that refused to dissipate. Pirahon's wild laughter and reckless fiery courage, Boreas's calm gray eyes and precise mastery of the winds that had once carried their ship safely across the Great Green. These memories surfaced unbidden during the long healing hours, sharpening the pain of loss. Yet hope refused to die completely. On the third night, a veiled figure from the faithful remnant had slipped another note beneath their chamber door. The simple parchment read, 2 rounds survived. The king awaits in the third culling. The vision holds true, one final test before the throne. Obedience cuts sharper than any blade forged by the Watchers. The remnant prays without ceasing for the Winged One and his companions. You are not alone in this darkness. The veiled ally's eyes had met Leon's briefly in the torch-lit corridor before vanishing like a ghost. Another spark of the line of Seth, enduring in the heart of 10 rings, built upon depravity and rebellion. Outside the barracks walls, Atlantis revealed its true horrifying nature more brazenly with each passing day. Distant screams rose from sacrificial altars in neighboring rings where biomancy and necromancy rituals drained the life force of chained innocents to heal or empower the corrupt kings. Pharmacia academies released clouds of mind-altering vapors that drifted on the night breezes, inducing hallucinations, false loyalties, and spiritual hunger among the teeming crowds. In the opulent luxury boxes high above Ring 7's colossal arena, the 6 Egyptian Nephilim giants lounged like living blasphemies against the Creator. Amun-Ra's crystal growth sparked with stolen lightning. Sobek's massive crocodile jaws clacked wetly as he feasted on platters of forbidden meat and warm blood. Their thunderous laughter rolled across the island like profane thunder, mocking Poseidon, the runt, and his desperate tournament of self-devouring flesh. "Watch how the body fails beautifully," Sobek had roared one evening, voice carried on unnatural winds. "Even the blue-flame dog of Tanaju will learn the lesson before we sail home to the Black Land." The night before the third and final culling, Leon gathered Stelios and Lysandros around the olive branch token placed reverently in the center of the chamber floor. They knelt together in the dim torchlight. "Creator of all things visible and invisible," Leon prayed, his voice low but steady despite exhaustion and pain. "Piron and Boreas gave everything in obedience to your vision. Strengthen the 3 of us who remain for the trials ahead. Let not the hunger of Ra'av devour our spirits, nor the mockery of the false gods from Egypt break our resolve. The rings will crack, the sea will rise in judgment. Your word endures forever." Stelios and Lysandros joined their voices in the ancient songs of the line of Seth, words preserved by the faithful remnant across generations. For a fleeting moment, the oppressive spiritual darkness of Atlantis seemed to recede. Quiet, defiant hope kindled in their hearts amid the suffocating corruption. Dawn of the final culling arrived beneath a sky the color of old, congealed blood, an ominous canopy that seemed to bleed in anticipation of fresh slaughter. 30,000 spectators packed the tiered limestone seats until the ancient stone groaned under the collective weight. Banners of dyed wool in crimson for the lifeblood, demanded by the Watchers, and stark black for the encroaching spiritual night, snapped and cracked violently in the hot, dry winds, funneled down from the ring's outer marble fortifications. Vendors threaded through the frenzied crowds with hoarse voices, hawking roasted meats dripping with fat, watered wine in clay cups, and cheap amulets inscribed with futile invocations to minor Watchers. The sand of the vast arena, freshly raked by trembling slaves overnight, still bore dark, stubborn stains from previous massacres, as if the very ground itself had developed an insatiable thirst for mortal blood. King Gorgathon reclined upon his monstrous throne of fused earth and wind-sculpted marble at the far end of the arena. The colossal Nephilim giant had grown visibly more petrified since the last round. Stone-like plates now covered much of his torso, arms, and legs. His joints creaked and ground audibly with even the slightest movement. Deep cracks spider-webbed across his gray, hardening flesh. His deep-set eyes, gleaming with ancient sadistic intelligence, fixed upon Leon's trio with predatory calculation. The priest in flowing blood-red robes ascended the central dais. Hidden Mancy workings amplified his voice into booming judgment that echoed across every tier. Behold the final culling of Ring 7's bracket. 3 teams of hardened survivors remain. Only one team shall earn the sacred right to challenge King Gorgathon himself for the throne. Let the gifts of Pharmacia, Altering, and Mancy prove their chosen ones. Let flesh demonstrate its inevitable, glorious failure for the glory of the Watchers and the eternal hunger of Ra'av. The great conch horn, polished and massive as a grown man's torso, sounded its deep, mournful blast, the signal for slaughter. Leon, Lysandros, and Stelios charged forward in tight, disciplined formation. 3 men against the elite remnants of the other 2 surviving teams, veterans who had clawed their way through prior bloodbaths. Team 1 specialized in Pharmacia, mind-breaking with slow-acting curses, dimensional illusions that made the sand writhe with phantom serpents, and whispers that fractured sanity. Team 2 fielded grotesque altering brutes whose bodies had warped into multi-limbed nightmares, extra arms sprouting claws, chitin plates, and whipping tendrils of hardened flesh. Team 3 combined devastating Mancy elementalists, lightning callers who cooked opponents alive inside armor, sand shifters who opened sudden devouring pits, and aeromancers who summoned razor gusts. Stelios invoked his unnamed Guff Watcher with a primal roar that shook dust from the high arena walls. Living bronze armor surged across his massive frame. He planted his broad shield like an immovable anchor and became a living fortress, his iron-studded club sweeping in wide, bone-shattering arcs that crushed limbs and caved skulls with wet, sickening impacts. For the Creator and the vision he has given, he bellowed, voice like grinding millstones. An enormous 4-armed altering brute slammed into him with earth-shaking force. Stelios absorbed the blow, ribs creaking audibly beneath the bronze, fresh cracks spider-webbing across his chest plate. Pain flashed across his face, but he held the line, allowing his brothers to strike from safety. Lysandros danced at the midline like a scholarly ghost, his lean frame moving with precise economy, even as hallucinations clawed at his mind. Pinches of shimmering powder flew from his fingertips with lethal accuracy. He thickened the air around charging foes into sluggish molasses, turned light and shadow into disorienting illusions of loved ones, begging for mercy or transforming into monsters. A perfectly placed contact poison landed on a rival Pharmacia user. The man's flesh began rotting visibly from within, skin sloughing away in wet, dripping sheets, while he clawed desperately at his dissolving throat and face, screaming until his voice became a gurgling ruin. Yet Lysandros muttered constantly to unseen phantoms, "Not real. The voices lie again. The vision is true. Focus." His sharp intellect still calculated openings, but the fractures deepened visibly. Leon invoked Kion with focused, growing intensity from the heart of their formation. Bright blue flames roared along his forearms and shoulders, granting explosive strength, speed, and searing heat. Massive wings of living blue fire unfurled from his shoulders, radiant and powerful. He launched skyward in powerful glides, hurling condensed projectiles of superheated blue flame that melted armor into slag and vitrified wide swaths of sand into glassy, razor-sharp death traps. The crowd's chant swelled into a deafening, worshipful roar that shook the arena. Leon of Tanaju, the winged dog, Kion's champion, blue flame rises above all. The power flooding his veins felt exhilarating, almost godlike, yet Kion's whispers cut ever deeper. They slow you, pup. Their weaknesses and costs will doom you against the petrifying king. Embrace me without reservation. The throne awaits the strong alone. The battle rapidly escalated into pure biblical horror. A Pharmacia curse snaked toward Stelios's shield arm, blackening and rotting flesh beneath the bronze. Leon dove from above on flaming wings and burned the curse away in a controlled burst that cauterized the wound but added fresh, luminous scars. Enemy lightning arced across the sand, striking a rival altering warrior and cooking him alive inside his warped armor. The stench of seared meat, burning hair, and molten bronze thickening the air unbearably. Gorgathon, amused or bored, intervened with casual malice. He slammed his petrified fist upon the throne armrest. A localized earthquake rippled outward, splitting the arena floor in jagged fissures. Sand shifted violently. A yawning pit opened directly beneath Lysandros. Stelios lunged with desperate strength, grabbing the scholar by the satchel and hauling him clear, even as his own brittle bones protested with grinding agony. Horror layered upon horror. A rival Pharmacia user transformed an entire section of sand into slow-acting contact poison. Fallen warriors screamed as their skin bubbled, blistered, and sloughed away in raw sheets. Dimensional whispers induced rage and false visions. Teammates turned on one another, hacking blindly at phantoms. Leon soared through the chaos, wings beating powerfully, blue projectiles turning clusters of multi-limbed brutes into molten ruin. Stelios tanked devastating assaults, bronze denting deeply, cracks spreading. Lysandros' illusions created vital openings. The climax was cataclysmic. The final rival team summoned a howling sandstorm, laced with razor stone shards. Gorgathon amplified it with his power, turning the arena into a blinding maelstrom. Visibility dropped to near zero. Stone shards sliced exposed skin and clanged viciously off Stelios's bronze armor, embedding like grotesque jewelry. Leon's wings beat furiously against the howling winds, blue flames burning lanes through the maelstrom as he gained altitude. Stelios became an immovable anchor in the center, shield raised high, roaring defiance while shards bit deeper. Lysandros, half-blinded and muttering frantically to phantoms, flung his final desperate blend of powders, thickening the very air of the storm into a choking, sluggish soup that slowed the razor winds. Leon dove straight into the heart of the amplified maelstrom. Blue flames roared brighter than ever before, superheating the sand beneath him into a vast, glassy crater. His flaming fist connected with devastating force against the lead geomancer's chest. Ribs shattered audibly. Blue fire exploded outward on impact. The man was hurled backward like a broken doll, body smoking and lifeless before it struck the ground. The storm faltered and collapsed. The remaining foes fell one by one, crushed beneath Stelios's relentless club, rotted from within by Lysandros's precise poisons and illusions, or burned from the sky by Leon's aerial dominance. A profound silence fell for a single heartbeat across the blood-soaked arena. Then pandemonium erupted. Leon of Tanaju, the winged dog of Kion, blue flame conquers. The 30,000 voices merged into a single thunderous roar. Flower petals, copper coins, trinkets, and even small weapons rained down from the upper tiers in a storm of frenzied adulation. All three members of Leon's team still stood amid the carnage, bloodied, maimed, and barely upright, but miraculously alive. Stelios favored his left leg heavily, bones ground audibly with every shift of his massive weight. Fresh cracks ran across his bronze chest and arms, like fault lines threatening to split him apart. Lysandros pressed both hands to his temples, eyes darting wildly at unseen horrors, his satchel nearly depleted and his mind fractured further. Leon's glowing scars now reached past his elbows and onto his shoulders. Fresh burns from prolonged wing manifestation seared his own skin. The blue flames receded reluctantly, but the luminous tributaries pulsed with inner warning and temptation. The priest's amplified voice cut through the frenzy. The team from Tanaju advances intact once more. Survivors may retire to the barracks for one final week of healing. In 7 days they shall face King Gorgathon himself for the throne of Ring 7. As the trio limped from the blood-soaked sand toward the shadowed tunnels, carrying what remained of their dignity, Gorgathon's amplified voice rolled across the arena like grinding bedrock. "Well fought, little dog of Tanaju. Bring your broken pack before my throne. I will show you personally how the body truly fails, as all covenant flesh must." From the opulent luxury boxes, the Egyptian giant's mocking laughter thundered louder than the crowd itself. Sobek's crocodile jaws clacked in delight. 3 fragile candles against the petrifying king. How exquisite the moment when flesh finally betrays them all. In the dim, torch-lit tunnel leading back to the barracks, Leon gripped the olive branch token until the wood bit deeply into his palm. Grief, exhaustion, and the mounting weight of corruption pressed upon him like lead. Yet the vision from the Creator burned brighter and clearer than ever. The 10 concentric rings cracking open, the sea rising in divine judgment, the command to defeat Poseidon and cast the sinful island into the depths. One final week of healing remained before the confrontation with Gorgathon. The path narrowed, the cost increased, but obedience endured. That night, in the quiet of the chamber as torches burned low and his companions drifted into uneasy, pain-filled sleep, Leon stood alone at the narrow window, slit overlooking the darkened arena. The blue glow of his scars softly illuminated the olive branch token in his palm. Far below, the sand lay dark and thirsty, waiting for more. King Gorgathon's empty throne loomed like a sentinel of coming trials. "Strengthen us, Creator of heaven and earth," he prayed silently. "Let not the mockery of the false gods from Egypt nor the hunger of Chion prevail. The flood draws near. Mercy remains for those who walk humbly with you. Judgment comes. All flesh is grass. The grass withers, but the word of the Creator endures forever." This has been an unabridged audio production of Before the Flood, The Fall of Atlantis, Chapter 8, The Final Culling of Ring 7, by Matt Matson. All rights reserved by Matt Matson, LLC. Copyright Matt Matson, LLC 2026. If you enjoyed this production, please like, share, and subscribe. Available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Follow the author at Matt Matson for updates. Links in the description.